Thank you. Thanks for putting it down low. One of these short answers. Thank you so much for that, Isaac. Yeah, I have been a long-time supporter of LinkedIn Local and follow you around the coast. And I actually live up in Morisset, so I'm not a local, so come back down here often, and I always enjoy it. So thank you for that, and thanks for the invite to have a chat tonight. So I know these chats are about just talking. Whoever's invited to talk about some of the things that have been really impactful for our business. And I want to share with you something tonight that it's so funny because at times I think I'm really good at this, and other times I listen to myself and I go, oh my God, I'm just not good at it at all. Who thinks that they're good listeners here? Yeah, some people? Okay. So, yeah, I've got these, yeah, I think so. So, they're going, I'm not sure now. I thought I was until I heard you ask that question. Anyway, so, over the many years I've been in business, this particular person and his principles came into my sphere of knowledge probably about 4 years ago, a guy called Oscar Trimboli. Has anyone heard of him? He's a local guy down, Sydney local, more or less. And he's written a book quite a number of years ago called Deep Listening, Impact Beyond Words. So has anyone read that? No? Okay. Oh, cool. I've got a new audience I can share with. Awesome. So before I actually read this book, I thought, yeah, I'm pretty good at listening. Who's heard of active listening? Who's been taught and who's attended numerous? Okay, cool. So we all think we're awesome. I want to see at the end who thinks they may reevaluate that classification. Anyway, so I find that when I go in to listen to my client, the first or prospect or whatever, and I do my discovery conversation with them, I am a fantastic listener. I'm there. My eyes are forward. I'm doing all the active listening. I'm all ears, right? 2 ears, 1 mouth, shut your mouth, listen, apart from when you're asking good questions, etc. And then after that, my listening seems to deteriorate because I know all about your business now. I know all about your problems. I know all about this. I know all about that. Who else suffers from that sometimes? Yeah. So we tend to get a little blasé and we have to remind ourselves sometimes to actually continue to listen. Would you agree with that? So what Oscar Trimboli talks about is that we can speak at between 125 and 170 words a minute, but our listening speed is around 400. So what happens to that gap? What happens in that gap when you're listening, but your brain's going twice, if not more, as fast? What happens? Yeah. We're thinking we're off here, right? We're off here, we're off there, we're doing this, we're planning dinner, we're thinking about the problem that we're having. Anyway, and look, we all do it. It's okay. You don't have to worry. So Oscar Trimboli has identified there's 4 what he calls listening villains. So he talks about the dramatic listener. Can anyone think about what the dramatic listener might be like? Yeah, that's it. Somebody starts telling you a story and, oh my gosh, I've got something else to tell you. And my time is 5 times better than yours. And and so what's the risk of that? We end up taking over the listening, we end up taking over the interaction. Yeah. And we forget and lose the listening for that person and they tend to feel lost and like, we're just so away with our fairies. There is the distracted listener. And we've already talked a little bit about that, like, can you hurry up and get on with it? That's it. I'm in a hurry. I've got to go on, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to be interested to see what faces are listening to each other after this. But the distracted listener, they're too busy thinking about what they're thinking about, what the last phone call was about, what the last conversation was about, to actually focus on who we're interacting with at this time. The next one is the shrewd listener. So the shrewd listener is somebody who has already got the solution worked out. You hear about 3 sentences. You've been in that situation many times. A number of you have been in and all of us, me, I've been in the situation many times. People have told me the story. I know what the answer is. So then I may be smart enough not to actually interrupt that person, but I'm already galloping way ahead and providing the solution as soon as they shut up. Right? As soon as they shut up, I'm in. So the last one is the interrupting listener. Now, who's guilty of that? Yeah, many of us, right? As soon as somebody draws breath, what do? Jump in. So we jump in with our story, and we jump in with our thoughts, and we jump in with everything we're listening to. So, all of us suffer from all of these different listening villains at various times. So don't feel bad about it, but you may just identify one or two of those that are yours. So when I learned about these guys, it made a huge difference I thought, well, what can I do about this? I thought I was a good listener, but clearly at times I'm not. So what I then did was read a little further in his book, and he came up with some suggestions. And it won't surprise you, there's five suggestions that he made. One is check in with ourselves first. So for me, what I try and do now is, okay, what mood am I in? Is my head full and my mind full? Or am my mind full about what's going to be said? So it's about checking in with myself. I then have to adjust and listen to the content of what the person's saying in the conversation, so that I can actually have a conversation, not just be like a tennis match. And then it's about the context of the situation. Why are they telling me this? What's the bigger picture? Do they actually want advice? Do they want guidance, or do they just want a sounding board? And it's really interesting, I'm sure, for all of us to actually think about that, because I know that often we assume that, of course, they've engaged us for our expertise, so of course they want solutions, right? And then we've, of course, got to prove how good we are by telling them what the best solution is. The next one is listening for what is not said, because if they feel that you're distracted or that you're just wanting to jump in, they'll start going, I'm just not going to say that. Or maybe they're feeling a little judged and they're a little worried about what they're wanting to say, and they worry that we might judge them. So then they're sort of a little bit hesitant. So there's some really good, what I try and do now, and I try and train myself to say to people is, what else do you need to tell me? What else do I need to know? What else do you need to tell me? What else is there? And then the fifth part of it is about the whole situation. What's the whole situation about, why we're having this conversation, and try and sort of just make it as big as possible. So because part of listening is really asking what I call high gain questions, and then just shutting up and listening for the answers. And then once almost like I've got permission from the person, I can then go ahead. So that's been a real impact. It's made a real impact on me and what I do. He's just put another book out too, which Brendan actually had Oscar on one of his podcasts recently, and Oscar gave him some books, and seeing I told Brendan about Oscar, he gave me a book. Am I lucky? So thanks, Brendan, wherever you are. So I hope that's actually just given you a little bit of thought about listening styles. So can I ask, for those people that at the beginning thought you were really good listeners, has anyone reevaluated maybe about what their listening might be like? Yeah?
Better now.
Cool. You're even better. That's awesome. Anyway, thank you for listening.